All right, we are now joined by a very special guest, former Oakland A's farmhand and current New York Yankees bullpen catcher, Collin Theroux. Collin, we've talking, catching up here a little bit before we started recording. How's it going? How's everything? And how are you enjoying your off day?
Yeah, things are great. Obviously, trying to soak up the off day because you only get so many during the season, and had a nice productive one. It's a beautiful day out. Got some chores done with the future misses, and now just hanging out before dinner. So it's been a good day for sure.
Dude, that's the best. So Oklahoma State Cowboy. It's we were just saying that, during the College World Series run up to there, they didn't make it very far this year, but I wanted to go back to 2016 though, because your Oklahoma State baseball team, they were in the thick of it. They were right up there. I think it was like the semifinals of the College World Series that year.
Mm-hmm.
What was that experience like, man? That had to be just like the craziest run. Like, what do you remember about that trip to Omaha? Like, can you take me back to that time?
Yeah, no, it was like you said. It's just kind of everything you dream of, and you're trying to soak it up, but not get too caught up in it, and know that you're there for to handle some business. And we had such a great group that was good at balancing it. So we did a good job of having our fun, but kind of handling business for the most part on the field, and came up short. But it's like it's something I'll obviously always remember. And honestly, it's something that I want to go back one day as a fan and get to experience, because it's just, if you guys haven't been, you have to go. It's the coolest week. It's the best energy, and it's unforgettable.
I've seen that. It looks like the coolest, like biggest party. It's like, that's like the main event there in Omaha is that College World Series. That's bucket list. I was looking though, because you guys were running into some like really, really tough pitching matchups there. One that I saw that I was perplexed by, and I didn't know he was a pitcher, was Bobby Dahlback. Do you remember hitting off of Bobby Dahlback, the Red Sox infielder now? Like,
yeah, I don't remember hitting. Like? I remember him. I think I padded his stats a little bit. But no, I remember, he threw hard. He had a really good changeup. That's what I remember. And I remember I was like, I don't know. Obviously he was a really talented hitter and infielder as well in college. And I was like, this guy could do both. He was, I thought, a pretty impressive arm. And I was just talking to somebody about that the other day. And I was like, dude, that guy was one of the best arms we saw all year.
It's crazy. He's never, like, after college, he was like very adamant. It's like, I'm never pitching again. And I looked, and he had like a 2.5 ERA, and he was shoving the entire time. I'm just like, Bobby Dahlbeck.
Hey, you never know. Shohei's leading the way. You never know. Hit bombs and throw gas. It's a good recipe.
Should have been a two-way guy.
Yeah. Right?
Kait, what do you got?
So being from the Bay Area, kind of coming out of college, drafted by the Oakland A's, what was that experience like for you? And just kind of like take us through that process.
Again, a very, very cool experience that I'm really grateful for. Grew up going to A's games and Giants games. I was definitely more of a Giants fan, but didn't discriminate. Loved both teams. Both teams kind of had their little eras while I was growing up. And then it's cool. The A's do a good job of kind of bringing around former players as coaches and advisors and whatnot. So getting to be around those guys, I got to get really close, and still am, with Bobby Crosby, who was, the rookie of the year when I was growing up. And, he was my manager eventually. So a lot of really, really cool moments and some really great people in that organization for sure. And then now it's like, it's cool getting to stay in baseball, and, we go play Oakland, and we're going back there in a couple weeks, and it's good to see those guys and get home. And so it was really cool for sure.
That's awesome. I always admire people in the minor leagues, and you were there for quite some time, 5 seasons, I believe.
Yeah.
And sometimes, you're playing under not the best circumstances, but, working at your craft, trying to get to the big leagues. Just, is there anything really memorable from that time that stands out to you, like a really cool memory?
Gosh, I don't even know where to start. I don't know. What's funny is I was just talking to a guy I got drafted with, Javon Shelby, who never knew him. We would have never crossed paths. He went to the University of Kentucky. And just by chance, we were drafted by the same team in the same year, and spent our first full year together. And now he's going to be one of my groomsmen. And it's like, very, as grindy as the minor leagues can be, it's like you look back and all you think about are the guys and the memories. And I guess it's hard to pinpoint one, but literally our first bus ride from the airport from spring training. We landed in, I want to say Chicago, and drove to Beloit, Wisconsin on a bus. And our bus broke down like 2 or 3 times. And we're like, oh my God, where are we? And what are we getting into? And then just hitting, like, while we're waiting for the next bus to come and pick us up, we're like hitting rocks on the side of the road with a 2x4 and just trying to make the best of it. But yeah, those were, that was just the group of guys that we had. And that's what made it worth it and memorable. And honestly, didn't even make the crappy times as tough as they are, especially when you look back. So.
Right. I feel like since you're so secluded from everyone, you get really close with that group of guys. So that makes sense that he's going to be one of your groomsmen, which is so cool.
100%. Yeah.
Justin?
So I was going back and I was looking at some of those Oakland A's minor league teams that you were a part of. There's so many just like household names in the major leagues now. Like the Oakland A's system at that time was absolutely loaded with guys. It's like, how much fun was it showing up to the yard and playing with people that are, their back of the baseball card stats are insane right now. It's like that had to be a fun time to be playing ball.
It was, for sure. And I think just kind of the way the culture was in Oakland was very much be yourself. It wasn't it wasn't like a very pretentious feeling culture from the top down. And so you got to know those guys, the big names, and be around the Matt Chapmans and the Olsons and the Simeons. And then I come up with, now Jonah Heim and Jesus Luzardo, AJ Puck, Dalton Jeffries, all these guys, and they're just the best. And I think, there was a really good culture and a lot of really good people. And so those guys are just so easy to root for. And I actually have a funny, like, speaking of which, this is another story I tell. In high A, Jesus Luzardo was with us, and he was like 19 or 20 and just so much better than all of us. Didn't belong there, and we're playing in Modesto against the Mariners high A affiliate. I remember Mike Zunino was rehabbing, and he's hitting, and I can't remember if he swung or took a pitch, and he looks at me and he's like, who the hell is this guy? Like, is this guy rehabbing? Who is this? I'm like, oh, that's Jesus Luzardo. He's 19. He goes, dude, what is this guy doing here? I'm like, no, he won't be here long. And I think that was his last start with us. And it was like in April or May. So that was like a cool, I was like, okay, I thought this guy was good, but that's a pretty good kind of sign off that he's going to be pretty special. And, he's starting to come into his own, and really great dude that's easy to root for. So.
Dude, no doubt. That's fantastic. Were there any other guys that you saw for the first time, maybe you didn't know a lot about, but you got on the field with them and you were like, oh my gosh, this guy, you knew as soon as you saw him, he would be good?
I mean, I could tell you an opponent. My first year in low A, we go play Fort Wayne, who is the Padres affiliate, and some kid, right-handed, lanky, I'm catching, and he's like butt out, reaching, diving across the plate, and hits like a no-doubter to right center that was deep. I'm like, who the hell is this kid? And I'm like, Tatis. I'm like, oh, I wonder if his dad was blah, blah, blah. Like, he wasn't this big, at least to us yet, this big name. I think he was, 18, 19 at the time. And I was just like, that was different, and then sure enough that he's still pretty different than most. So that was another one that sticks out for sure.
That's amazing. You mentioned Jonah Heim in there. I mean, that the rise of Jonah Heim has been one of my favorite things of baseball, also former Oriole. To see him turn into like a top 2 or 3 catcher in the game of baseball, like how great is that?
It's awesome. I mean, Jonah is, you have to know Jonah to like kind of appreciate what he's doing. He's such a kind of low-key guy, especially off the field, just kind of quiet and observes, cracks jokes here and there, but definitely a competitor and a hard worker, and just really, really skilled and really smart about how he goes about his business. And it's kind of paying dividends now. And it's, again, a guy that's easy to root for and you're happy for. So.
No doubt. Yeah. I mean, it's so much fun to watch him in Texas. It's the coolest thing ever. I wanted to talk, though, about your defense behind the plate, because I heard that all throughout the minor leagues and just like the work that you do with the pitchers, your defense behind the plate, blocking balls and everything, you've gotten rave reviews. I'm wondering how much work went into that. When did you even know that like catching was going to be the thing that got you there?
Well, first of all, I appreciate that. And whoever told you that, that's very nice of them. No, I think from a young age, it was very much impressed upon me that if you're going to play this position, it's like this is first and foremost what matters is taking care of your pitchers, kind of, making a difference on defense. You don't take your at bats to behind the plate, stuff like that. And it was just kind of pounded into me from a young age. I had some great coaches that were very, very adamant about those things and how to kind of be a counselor for your pitchers, how to kind of dissect what they need in that moment. You hear the old adage of like some guys need a pat on the butt, some guys need a kick in the butt, and you kind of dissect it as you're walking to the mound and reading their face and their body language. And so it was just something that was important to me from a young age. And I think the older I got and the less I hit, the more important I realized it would be to my career. And but also just something that I loved and really helped me get to know my teammates. And I think being able to kind of pour into those guys and invest in them and their success kind of helped. I don't know, it just became more enjoyable that way. And I think it helped carry me into this next venture and hopefully down the road as well.
Catching too is also just like such a cerebral position. Like there's so much that goes into it in terms of the mental side of the game. Are you someone that enjoyed, like gravitated towards that side of the game and like learning everything you can about the pitchers and their pitches? Like, do you enjoy the mental side of catching?
100%. There's, and again, like getting to kind of watch and learn and talk with Trevi and Higgy and the things they notice and kind of the things we share in common and what we notice in the pitchers and bouncing ideas off each other and learning from those guys. It's just such a vital part of what you do behind the plate is getting those guys to trust in you and confide in you and believe that you have their best interests in mind. And I think that goes such a long way. Like you could call the wrong pitch in the wrong moment, but if those guys are convicted and believe you, then I think that holds more weight than throwing the right pitch in the right moment where they're not 100% on it.
Yeah, absolutely. And even just like the trust aspect of just having your pitchers trust you with that calling pitches. From a perspective, bullpen catcher, New York Yankees, I feel like a lot of people don't really know about your day-to-day responsibilities, like the work that goes into it. So can you just give us a glimpse, like 7 p.m. game, what are you doing during that day?
Yeah. Well, I'll usually leave, let's say 7 o'clock game. I'll usually leave my place around like 10-ish, 10:30-ish. Takes like 40 minutes by subway. So get there, try and work out real quick. Rubbing up baseballs every day, first and foremost. And then just a lot of, I do some advanced work, before the series, trying to help our advanced guys and our coaches out with kind of whatever they need to prepare for the upcoming series or the upcoming game. Do a lot of, I guess, executive assistant work, as I like to call it, a lot of printing and getting charts ready, scouting reports ready, the wristbands ready. And then you're like cutting, laminating, doing this and that. And so it's a busy day kind of once I get done working out. It's a little bit of nonstop. And then, we have meetings. So I usually try to attend those. And, I might be helping cycle through the projector on the meetings and stuff like that. And just, I don't know, sticking any free time I have, just kind of trying to help out where I can, whether that's with Tanner and the catching side or, going and just kind of peeking into the cages and seeing what like Dylan and Casey and those guys are working on with the fellows and seeing if they need help and trying to help out where I can. And then obviously you have, the bullpens, you have, the rehab guys that are throwing. So you play long toss a couple of times a day for sure. And then kind of shag BP, go back in, eat, get ready for the game, maybe play a little chess. It's a big chess clubhouse right now.
Okay.
And then during the game, honestly, the game time is kind of like my like decompressed time. I get to like relax for a couple innings, hopefully like 6 or 7 until a reliever gets going, and then do it all over again. So a long day, but very, very rewarding. I get to learn a lot from some of the best and brightest in the game. And it's a good gig for sure.
That's awesome. Yes, you're just bouncing around all day from
Sorry, I know that was kind of
pregame.
like a rant, but there's definitely a lot of bouncing around, but it's a blast.
And then when you're in the bullpen, how do you decide who's going to catch which reliever? Like I'm picturing like a coin toss, like, oh nope, you have to go get Clay Holmes ready. Sorry, it's your turn.
No, that's a good question. So that's honestly like something we try to avoid. So you talk about, I guess, the mental side of catching and the relationship with the pitchers. We want some continuity with the relievers that we're warming up every night. Not, he's getting up. All right, who's going? No, we each have our guys. We, split the bullpen down the middle, and who you've got. You kind of start to feel out when their name might be getting called, so you could go beat them to the mound, stuff like that. And then stuff with targeting, stuff with correcting them, like, hey, get out front. Hey, like, let's target here, stuff like that. I think that kind of camaraderie with that guy and him seeing you every night kind of helps and goes away. So that's a good question. That's a question that doesn't really get asked. So
I was curious. How did you get into understanding all of like the science behind pitching? Because obviously you're catching, so you're watching them the entire time, but to be able to make those adjustments to professional relievers, like, was there a lot of training? Was there a lot of studying that went into that?
I definitely think my experience in catching helped a lot. But like definitely in the last 2 years since I've joined the Yankees, my kind of scope of baseball and pitching especially has changed a lot. And what I've learned from Matt Blake, Desi Druschel, Mike Harkey, our bullpen coach, I mean, it's night and day. I thought I knew a lot, and I quickly realized I knew nothing. And it feels like every day I'm learning something new, whether that's pitch shapes, whether that's game planning and matchups, whether that's more to the mental game and how to, get these guys ready each and every night. So, I quickly learned, like I said, that I didn't know much like I thought I did. So a lot of learning going on, a lot of adjusting on the fly, but I think we got a pretty good product going on so far. So
awesome. Justin, you want to go?
Yeah, you mentioned your experience. Obviously, we were talking about your minor league career there. How did the Yankees opportunity present itself? Can you take me through like your decision-making process, to go from active player to bullpen catcher?
Yeah, a lot of luck, to be honest. So usually I tell, kids will yell in the bullpen, how'd you get this job? And I say, well, you just don't hit very well. And, they usually move you back here. But it was a little bit more than that. A lot of luck. I had moved to New York in the off season after 2021 because my fiance had gotten a job here. We were in Texas at the time. And so I was spending my off season here getting ready for my last minor league season. I thought I was going back to spring training as a player. I was going to play my last year, see what happens. And in sometime in like November, October, I want to say, Luke Persico, who I'd roomed with and played with in Oakland, had since retired and moved here and was working here. And we went and got, dinner and drinks one night. And he said, hey, my buddy's coming. He's the bullpen catcher for the Yankees. I'm like, oh, that's cool. Like, get to talking, whatever. Nothing comes from it. Come January, I guess Aaron, who was my partner last year, had reached out to Luke and said, hey, like, I know I met Collin briefly. We're looking to kind of fill a bullpen catcher role. Do you think he'd be interested? And, Luke kind of, I think he vouched for me a little bit and said, yeah, I think he'd probably give it a shot. And so they had to ask for permission from Oakland because I was still under contract to speak to me. And Oakland, they reached out to me and asked what I thought. And I said, well, what do you think? And basically the answer I got was, it's the Yankees. And I said, yeah, that makes sense. And so they granted me the interview and come to find out, Tanner Swanson, who's our major league catching and quality control coach, actually recruited me when he was at the University of Washington when I was coming out of junior college. So I had that relationship. Dylan Lawson and Casey Dykes, who are assistant and head hitting coaches, also recruited me when they were in the college ranks. So there was all these weird, like, stars aligned. I just moved to New York. It was like kind of just made sense. And I knew I wanted to stay in baseball when I was done playing. And the guy whose role I was doing my best to fill, Radley Haddad, is now on the major league staff with the Pittsburgh Pirates. So just seeing that he was able to kind of take that leap from the position after, a lot of hard work and impact, it was was like a little motivating. And I was like, you know what, this seems like a good path and something I'd be into. And it's been lights out ever since. So kind of like I said, a lot of luck and stars aligning, but it worked out for the best for sure.
It sounds like pretty sociable person. It sounds like the networking part of the game you really gravitated towards. Were you somebody that was always saying hi to whoever? Like, was that something that when you were playing, you made it a point to kind of like introduce yourself and get to know everybody? Because it came back around and it got you a Yankees job.
Yeah, no, I think I get teased about it a little bit here and there, for kind of being the friendly guy, or like I remember, I was fortunate enough to be a Double-A All-Star, and my teammates were teasing me that I was hanging out with the other team too much because all my buddies were on the other team, and I don't know, it was just I love playing baseball, and although I'm a competitor, I have a lot of fun doing it, and especially in those dog days, and whether it's cold or it's hot and you're grinding, we're all, whatever dugout we're in, we're all kind of going through the same thing. And it's fun to talk about and relate to each other about it. And then, you connect playing video games or over social media, and especially in today's age. And so, yeah, I was lucky to make a lot of friends, and it's cool, not just the A's guys, but I get to see just about every team we play. I'm like, oh, that's my guy over there. I hope he goes 0 for 4 tonight, but I like that guy, and been very lucky to make some good friends through the game so far, for sure.
Dude, that's the best. Yeah, that's networking is really the name of the game in whatever aspect of life, not just baseball. Yeah, absolutely. Getting to know people it's the way to do it. Have you given any thought though? Like, obviously you're in a great role right now with a great organization. Like, to what's next? Have you thought about the coaching ranks, the scouting ranks, or are you just trying to enjoy every day you can as the Yankees bullpen catcher?
Yeah, I mean, definitely the last part. Enjoy it every day. Soak up everything I can. Like I said, I'm 100% confident that I'm amongst the best and brightest in baseball, and I get to learn from them, and I learn something new every day. And so I'm in no rush because of that. But ultimately, I want to manage. I want to be a major league manager. So I guess whatever route I think is best to get to that eventually, whether that's coaching the minor leagues or coordinating or scouting or whatever it is, whatever the best route is, I will take. But for now, just like I said, trying to learn and soak it up and enjoy it, because it is the Yankees, and I'm very fortunate, and I get to see some pretty cool stuff every night. So.
Dude, that's the best. I've always heard catchers make the best managers. That they know all facets of the game. They seem like they have a pretty level. I feel like that would be a no-brainer.
Yeah, I mean, I hope so. But that's always outside of obviously being a major leaguer. That was always plan B, and this felt like a good route to kind of get started. So it's worked out pretty well so far.
We interrupt this episode to bring you a word from the official sponsor of Not For Long Media and the Breaking Bats podcast, the Original Fudge Kitchen. It is a staple of the Jersey Shore with 6 locations in Cape May, Wildwood, North Wildwood, Stone Harbor, and Ocean City. The Original Fudge Kitchen makes all of their fudge in store, guaranteeing a delicious product, so stop by and let them know that Not For Long Media and Breaking Bats sent you. Check them out online at fudgekitchens.com, as they are shipping fudge and sweet treats all across the country. Now back to the episode.
All right, so New York Yankees, bullpen's looking pretty good. I am a Yankee fan, have been my whole life. Used to work for the S Network.
Oh, very
What
nice.
do you think that they have just been doing so well? I mean, Holmes looks good. All the relievers are, from your perspective, like a coaching perspective.
I think that there's a very clean-cut kind of education process on, hey, here's what you do really well, and we want you to do that. We'll get better on the margins in the meantime, but for now, you're really good at this. Let's do this. Go be really good at what you're really good at. And we have some guys, whether it's Clay Holmes or Albert Abreu, who aren't fun to face, and everybody in between. And they're just really good at being prepared physically and mentally each and every night. It's really cool to watch them prepare and go through their routines and lock in. I always tease Clay because he's obviously, our closer, and, might pitch in the 8th if he has to, but, him and I have a pretty good relationship, and we mess with each other a lot. And I'll always kind of know when he's locking in, because like he's not giving it back to me anymore. He's just kind of like lasered in, and that's usually around the 7th or the 8th. Like, I'll crack a joke at him, and he's just like locked in on the field, and I go, all right, it's that time. I respect it, but
Right.
But like when you step back from that, it's like, wow, this guy has an ability to like separate it, like ability to just lock in, and
Right.
I think that's really cool, and I have a lot of respect for that, as well as do a lot of our guys, pretty much all of our guys.
Yeah. I always have a lot of respect for the relievers, because if you think about it, like they're sitting the whole game, they get up, and then ultimately they could be in one of the hardest positions, almost, like a pinch hitter situation. Is there anything behind like the mental aspect that you guys work on to just kind of keep that moment a little bit smaller than it actually is? I mean, like, Wandy coming in, tying game in the bottom of the 9th.
Well, Wandy's an outlier. Wandy's just going to be
Really?
Wandy, first and foremost. It doesn't matter what's going on. He's going to go out there. He's huffing and puffing, screaming and yelling, quick pitching. Wandy's going to want it. But for the rest of them, we do have Chad Bowling, who is the best of the best in the mental game. He works with the Cowboys as well and the Dallas Stars. And he's really, really good at relating to these guys. He has an open door all day. And I think a lot of them tap into what he's got to say. And I think there's just a lot of like bouncing off each other. I see a lot and hear a lot of conversations that are really productive about how to like kind of prepare for those moments and what they could have done differently or would have, or maybe they did the right thing and it just didn't work out. And I think, the best teams I've been on as a player, that was the situation. And it feels that way here as well, where it's kind of like guys lean on each other and learn from each other, physically and emotionally.
And you mentioned Wandy, being an outlier. Yeah. Is there anyone else in the bullpen that just kind of always provides that comedic relief, just is always easygoing?
I mean, you name it. And that's what's funny is it's such a obviously talented group and intense group, but oh my God, it's comedy down there until their name gets called. Seriously. And honestly, the ringleader is Harkey, our bullpen coach. He's Mr. like tough exterior, but he might be the funniest and the biggest jokester of us all. So, but yeah, Wandy getting going with Abreu, Cordero. Kinger and Clay get going. Like I said, I can name every single one of them, and they're all characters. Even Ron's Mr. Stoneface.
Yeah.
And then he'll crack a joke. It's a really good environment, to be honest. So, yeah.
I could see Ron being the one, like, doesn't say a lot, but when he does say something, it's just like that one liner.
100%.
Very funny.
Doesn't waste his breath, but he's got some good ones for sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Justin, what do you have?
So I've heard that you've said that, working with pitchers and getting to know, what pitches they throw, helping them improve their game is one of your favorite parts of like the game itself. Like when you got to the Yankees last year and even this year, like what's your process like of working with each guy? Is it a one-on-one? Are you sitting down in the video room with these guys? Like, how do you try to learn everything you can about them?
So I think first and foremost was I came in and I was like, I have to like earn these guys' trust. Like they have to get to know me before I could come in here, busting down doors and telling them this and telling them that, which to be honest, like I don't find myself doing much of that anyways. Like I feel like I'm more of like a reminder, like, hey, remember like when your slider was really good, we were talking about this and you told me you felt that, or hey, like I know you didn't like where that pitch ended up, but I thought the action on it was great. Like, let's maybe move your sights a little bit. I don't feel like I'm doing a lot of like, hey, let's sit down and talk. Like, I just want to like be a little birdie in their ear in passing. And just honestly, the biggest thing is just being really honest with them. Like, I think, especially in the major leagues, especially when you're with the Yankees, there's a lot of people that want to tell you what you want to hear, or they don't want to upset you. And again, after I feel like I've earned that trust and we have that relationship, I feel like I can be honest, and whether I'm right or wrong, like you'll appreciate that. And I would want the same from them. And there's some of that goes on where, they are honest with me or tell me what they need from me. And I think that's a big part of it. So
that's such a great outlook. And it's such a great way to approach it too. Cause like, yeah, I wouldn't want to be overbearing and try to like tell these guys something that like that, you know, I feel like the way you approach it is I'm sure they appreciate that aspect of it.
I hope so.
I'm curious though, because do position players, like obviously position players pitching is a thing. You obviously don't want the position players to have to go out there, but they do sometimes. But do guys ever come up to you and want to work with you on the side? Are there guys like, you know, that plays the field that come up to you like, hey man, I think I got a really cool splitter.
Oh man,
We just go work on it.
Yeah, I would say absolutely. I think we tried to get last year. We tried to get Judge because he throws the most beautiful, perfect baseball you've ever seen in your life. It is four seaming and backspinning and we're like, we got to learn from this guy. And I think we tried to get him off some like slow motion cameras, but I don't know if they like went up high enough. And then Aaron Hicks was a big, I think, kind of like two-way prospect coming out of high school. So he's like messed around and gotten off like the TrackMan here and there. Donaldson, really good changeup in a pinch, maybe we'll see. But yeah, he's coming like bombarded. A pitching session right after it gets done, and I'm still behind the plate or whatever, and he's like, "Let me throw a couple changeups," and lets him rip, but I'll give it to him. He's got a pretty good one. So, excuse me.
Oh, that's so fun. Yeah. Because I feel like position players, guys always want to do what they don't do. It's like, hey,
100%.
you know, in the back of their mind, they're like, you know, I can still get up there and pump 90 something. Yeah. Like are there any other guys that have so obviously Judge would be a good position player pitcher. Is anybody else on the team do you think would be a good like ninth inning blowout? He'll get you 3 outs.
Well, I'm sure Rizzo would be comedy. That's for sure. Yes. I'm sure he would make it fun. Gosh.
I think IKF pitched this year.
Yeah, IKF. Yeah.
He could be fun.
It's comedy because I think we just have to know him and know that he is dead serious when he's out there pitching in a blowout. You know what I mean? Like he's thinking of like, okay, I just read his swing. I got to pitch up here and up here. And that's how he is and why he's such a beauty. And gosh, I don't know. I might want to see Willie Calhoun on the mound. I feel like he's got that like, low slot ride that might be tough to catch up to, but I don't know. I don't think I want to give too many guys credit, or they might come down to the bullpen and waste my time a little bit.
Waste your time.
Yeah, but at the end of the day, and I think that's been one of my biggest takeaways being here is like at the end of the day, like they're all still baseball players. Like they're the same guys you grew up playing with. They're like they fit a category of a teammate that you've had on every single team. Like they're still baseball players. They're still the fellas. Like they want to have fun, and that's what makes it so enjoyable.
That's the best. You mentioned Aaron Judge. I would like to see him on the mound at some point too, by the way.
Yeah.
But a couple weeks ago, I'm thinking back to Dodger Stadium. You're sitting out there, you're chilling, enjoying the game. That's your decompression period. And he crashes through the bullpen wall. Can you tell me what that experience was like? Like how crazy was just be sitting there minding your own business and then he's in your lap?
Yeah, I think it happened really, really quickly. It was like JD Martinez hit this like high fly ball, and it's like you're like, is it gonna hold up? And then all of a sudden you're like, oh my God, like this guy is on top of us. And then you're like, fans, and at that point it's just he's making a decision. And I luckily I think I got the least of it. He obviously got the worst of it. My partner got like sandwiched by the fence and his coffee got spilled everywhere. But I mean, obviously it's like, oh my God, you knew he was going to run into the fence, but then the whole thing is just like off its hinges. Yeah. And obviously, he throws the ball in and you're like, okay. And then you're like, is he okay? Like that's where your mind goes. You're just like, God, please be okay. Please be okay. But I don't know. I go back to thinking like he had the wherewithal to throw the ball in. Like Muncy didn't end up tagging. They ended up giving him the base. But it's like, I mean, this guy is such a gamer. He's such a competitor. It's like the first thing that he thinks about, is get the ball in. And then I'll worry about whatever just happened. So it happened quickly, and it was definitely a surprise. But yeah, I think it was just the whole, even though it kind of banged him up, it was like the whole thing was just a testament to that guy's a competitor. He's a ball. And then he doesn't even like flinch the rest of the game. Like you can't even tell what's going on. You know what I mean? Like I'm like, is he? I think he's okay. You know, but that guy's he's a stud.
He's a superhero, absolutely. Was your phone blowing up after that? Because I think even on Sunday Night Baseball, you got a cool little 1 minute like feature package there out of that.
We got a little cameo, definitely blowing up. People were, I was getting mixed reviews. People were like, "Oh my god, you know, way to catch him!" But then like Scott F. Ross, who is one of our relievers who's hurt and rehabbing right now, he was chirping me. He's like, "Oh my god, thank goodness you put a hand on 6'8", 280 and held him up," because I really don't. I did my best, but I don't think I did much, if I'm being honest. So it was funny, like that Scott actually caught on to that and chirped me about it. But you got to remain humble in your 15 minutes of fame, I guess.
Oh my god!
I know you're a big deal. That's insane.
It's all over. It's over now. Not even on your guys' podcast, so I'm back.
Exactly. Another 15 minutes of fame.
Yeah. Exactly.
Sticking with Aaron Judge, you got to experience history last year as your first year as the Yankees bullpen catcher. I remember Matt Carpenter was on podcast a couple months ago. He said it was just insane watching him chase 62. What was that experience like from, more of a coaching manager standpoint? Just all like, was there a lot of talking every day? Like, oh, is he going to get there and stuff like that?
Yeah, it was just incredible. It's like you had to keep pinching yourself because you're like, number one, you're like, I would hate for him to get this close and it doesn't happen because obviously it kind of started like, well, he got in the last game of the year. Yeah. And you're like, I just hope he doesn't go through all of this for not nothing, but to not break it. And then you're just like, God, this poor guy needs an off day so bad. He must be so exhausted because he was going at it every single day. We had already clinched, but he was chasing history and, a lot of respect for what he did and how he did it. Cause I can't imagine how exhausted he was emotionally, physically, there's like a traveling circus everywhere he went and he smiled his way through it and got it done. And, like I said, the guy is like you said, he's a superhero. He's impenetrable physically, mentally, emotionally. And I think that was the way he handled it mentally and emotionally sorry, Dale's just blowing through this table right now. That was the most impressive part was there was no chink in his armor. He didn't crack. I would have folded under pressure immediately and he didn't even flinch. So credit to him for sure.
I just remember watching like the last, after he hit 60, it was every single game. People would just sit there with their phones out. And I remember just thinking, I can't imagine trying to go to work, like my job, and just the entire stadium is recording you. Like you're a circus animal. It's crazy.
Right, exactly. And how about this? This is mind-blowing. So I remember Jameson Tyone came up to me one day, and he goes, "Hey, last night Judge asked me." So let me set the scene. Every time he would come up to the plate, the place would go bananas, and then the pitcher would come set, and you could hear a pin drop. It was silent. Everybody taking videos and pictures, and then the pitch would come, and then everybody's loud again. But like piercingly loud, really loud. Every time, if he popped up in the infield, everybody thinks it's gone, and they're going crazy, right? And he asked Jameson, he goes, "Hey, what's the crowd like when I'm at the plate?" I was like, "What? How do you not?" But that's just like how locked in he was.
Right.
He's a superhero. He's different. He's diffy, as you would say. And it's like that blew my mind as much as anything. He's like, "Hey, what's it sound like? What's it sound like? I can't even hear myself think, dude. And you're turning around 100, Right. He's different in the best way.
Yes. That's crazy. I know. I always wondered that, like when people are chirping, but I guess if you're that locked in and it's dead silent, you don't hear anything.
Yeah. You can't, I don't know. You can't teach that. That's different. Or maybe you can. I don't know.
Yeah. I don't think I have those qualities. I would definitely fold under pressure. Justin?
I just had some fun last kind of rapid fire questions to end. Kait, if there's anything else you had.
Nope, that was it. Yeah, I'm ready for rapid fire.
Oh, okay. We got some fun ones. So one of my favorite dynamics is the fans that will like stand above the bullpen and kind of chirp down to the guys sitting down there. What's the funniest thing or one of the most memorable things you can remember that's been chirped down into the bullpen?
Oh God. I mean, definitely nothing PG or even PG-13. I feel bad because there are so many good ones, and I'm just not thinking of any. In Toronto, there's a guy all over me and one of our pitchers. Like my back's to him. He's right behind this chain link fence in the new Toronto bullpen, and he's got the accent, and and I turned around. I was like, I just want to let you know, I cannot take you seriously. Like, you have the cutest accent, and it is hilarious. And this guy ends up like, he's like, you know what? I like you. Like, you take it, you give it back. And he's like, have you tried ketchup chips? And I'm like, what? And he's like, I'm coming to the game tomorrow, and brought me ketchup chips. I guess I don't know if that's a Canadian delicacy. There's another one. Speaking of Harkey, our bullpen coach, we're in Boston last year, and there's this teenager, and he's just screaming, yelling, cussing into our bullpen the whole game. And finally, and mind you, for anybody out there, like, it doesn't matter to these guys. They don't hear you. They don't care. Like, it doesn't hurt them. Like, they just think it's funny, I guess, if anything. So this kid's giving it to him. And finally, Hark turns around, and Hark's a monster, big dude. And he goes, hey, man, you played? This kid's like, and, he shuts down, and he goes, yes, sir. And he goes, you know how hard it is? And he goes, yes, sir. And he goes, I just want to let you know, this dude doesn't care what you're saying. And you sound like, a dumbass, like the rest of these drunk guys. And I promise you, if you get to this level, you're going to think, wow, I was one of those guys. And the kid's like, yes, sir. And I'm not kidding. He scared this kid straight. He ended up throwing him a baseball. And I watched this kid hand this baseball to a kid like a row or two behind him. Like, he scared this kid straight. This kid's life was changed forever. And I thought that was awesome because I saw this kid, flip a switch in the blink of an eye because he finally got confronted and realized, like, wow, I really do sound kind of dumb right now. So that was a good one. I don't have that kind of authority yet, but that's definitely in my my playbook one day.
That's so funny you mentioned that the guys up in Toronto, because like I see them on TikTok all the time with their Canadian thick accents, and it is very funny to hear them. Just like it's so nice sounding.
Yeah, and it's like, dude, nobody is more ruthless than our fans. Like, what are you going to tell us or say to us or do to us that is worse than what our own fans could make us feel or say to other players? Like, we've heard it all, so it's all good.
Kind of tailing off that, how likely are you to give a fan a ball? Are you kind of generous with that? Are you nice and you flipping them out? Like, what's that like?
So I'm definitely like age limit kind of deal. Unless you got to, people pull out the sob stories, and it's everybody's birthday and it's everybody's first game and blah blah blah. But I usually, like, if I hear manners, 100% you're getting a ball. Right. Stuff like that. Or, if a kid's being like patient and they're being like, they didn't get it for a couple innings and they keep asking, like, but they don't get upset, then, I try to reward good behavior and not, bad behavior and parenting. So trying to teach life skills out there in the bullpen.
That's
a beautiful thing to hear. Yeah.
Do my best.
So it sounds like adult, no chance.
Yeah. Probably not. Unless there's some good guilt trips, like, and it's hard to. It's so easy when they just go bullpen catcher, hey Yankee. It's so easy to ignore. But then when they yell your name, and I'm like, God, do I know this guy? Like, I don't want to ignore somebody I know.
That's a real.
I mean, dude, kids are crazy. They're like DMing me weeks in advance. Like, little kids, they're like, hey, I'm gonna be at this game. Like, can you throw me a ball? I'm like, dude, just go to the gift shop. Like,
they're $10.
Yeah, they're right there.
That's so funny.
But there's something about it. And the other thing, I don't know how this caught fire, but everywhere we go, no matter what, everyone asks to play rock, paper, scissors for baseball. And I don't know, I don't know how this is like this phenomenon that everybody knows. And number one, I'm way too good at it. You'll never beat me. And number two, like I get so tired of hearing it. I hear it in my sleep. Like, oh, but it's part of it. If that's the worst part of my day, then I'll take it.
That's crazy. Wait, so they want to play rock, paper, scissors against you, and if they win, they get the ball?
Yeah.
That's funny.
It's kind of fun.
Yeah. And then, oh my God. And then I can't tell you how many times then it's like, then the crowd's like, hey man, the kid just wants a ball. I'm like, dude, like, I just want to watch the game. Like, I don't want to just keep going and grabbing baseballs for kids. Like, I get it, but like, I'm at work, you know? I just want to watch the game.
Is there a finite number of balls down there too? Like,
you
ran out?
I'm like, dude, I rub these up, like, for professional use. I can't just be handing these things out, you know. And then I got to rub up more balls after they get used. Absolutely, have at it.
Yeah,
that's so. Yeah, but it's more work for you. You're like, no way.
I should wear a GoPro one day and just document it. It's comedy every night.
It's good content. You should.
No doubt.
That would crush it. Yeah, Yankee
But
social.
then I'd get bugged more. Actually,
yeah.
Everyone's like, "You're the GoPro guy." So no doubt.
I do appreciate the ones that like go out of their way to like Google like your name and like, hey, Collin. Like that's pretty smart.
They're ruthless. They don't mess around.
This might be like a dumb question. But you had a Aroldis Chapman last year, and obviously guy throws gas. Like, what was it like to warm up Aroldis Chapman? And just like, did your hand hurt after catching a fastball?
Really?
Oh yeah. I mean, like I would say. Yeah, like if you don't catch it right, absolutely. Like I was pretty lucky with him. He honestly, his best command was down in the bullpen. Like he was lights out 90% of the time. But then obviously he has this devastating splitter. And every once in a while, like that thing is going 40 feet like a basketball bounce pass, you know? And I'm diving and I'm trying to catch it. I don't wear a chest protector too, so I'm not blocking it. Unless we're in like Tampa or Oakland on the field, like I'm getting out of the way. And he's just laughing at me and like having a great time. So that's like, I'll always just remember like diving out of the way for my life. And then I look up and like this monster of a human is just smiling at me. Like he thinks it's the funniest thing in the world. Yeah, Chappie was a good time. It was fun.
Oh, that's the best. Are there any other relievers that kind of make you put the fear of God into you? No chest protector, like occupational hazard stuff?
No, I don't want to say fear, but like Clay Holmes likes to mess with me. Like obviously he's got the demon sinker. And so sometimes like never during the game, but like, you know, right before batting practice when we're catching bullpens and stuff, I'll be catching a flat ground for Clay and he likes to go like this. Let me get in the middle. He'll go like this because this means sinker and this means slider. And he likes to go like this and let me guess every once in a while because it's the same pitch and then they just go opposite ways.
Right.
So he likes to mess with me. That scares me a little bit. But other than that, they're all pretty good at what they do. And my job isn't all that scary, believe it or not. So
it's good.
That's amazing. I just had a couple last ones for you. So you travel around. Obviously, you've been to a lot of bullpens. Can you maybe power rank some of the best and worst ones that you've been to on the road?
Best one on the road, probably Texas, I would say. They have like a good little room. You got a good view of the field. So it's nice to go in the room and like kind of get away from the crowd. Worst ones, probably Tampa and Oakland because you're on the field at an angle and like the field's this way, you know, those are tough. And you don't want to let a ball get past you when you are catching because then it goes on the field and they stop the game and
oh no,
literally you failed at the one thing in your job description. Where else? I really like Seattle. I think that's a good setup, good view of the field. I like Minnesota because you're kind of like tucked away and nobody can like really mess with you. Like anywhere where I don't have to like hear it from people all game is number one. Dodger Stadium was tough in a good way, like just because you're sandwiched by fans. I was like trying to talk to my mom one game and I'm just getting cussed out. I'm like, Mom, I'll talk to you after the game. But like in the best way, like that's the beauty of it. Yeah, I would say that's That's probably my top 2 or 3 of each.
You mentioned the ones where the bullpen is on the field where it's not like in its own little area. I was watching a Rays game the other night, and the ball person, I forget who it was, they made like this incredible like between the legs catch, and like the guys in the bullpen were like dapping them up. Like, do you have you had anything like that? Have you been like hit by like a ball where you're not paying attention if on the on-field bullpens?
No, but I forget that kid's name. We had him this year. But I definitely like mess with him a little bit and let him know like he better not let anything past him. And he does his job and he's good at it and he has fun doing it. I can't remember any like memorable catches, but definitely some plays have been made, and you're trusting him when your back's to the field and he's standing behind you with like a Target glove on and a plastic helmet on, and so. But no, I haven't been murdered yet, so I'll take it.
That's good. It's a plus then.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm always so curious, but like I'm just like if you lapse of like judgment for like half a second, line drive down there, you got to like duck out of the way.
Yeah, right into my back.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Oh, that's the best. Okay, I always like to end with this one. It's a very poignant one. What is the best piece of advice that you've ever received? Anything memorable stand out that's been given?
Oh, that is a good one. I think something I alluded to earlier is like, the only thing I know is that I don't know anything at all. It's just like continue to be curious and learn, and like, be confident in what you do know, but, always be open to learning and growing. And I think that's something that's served me well in this new role. And like I said, being around the best and brightest with the Yankees. And I hope it continues to serve me. And but I've been happy with the results since kind of trying to approach things that way.
I love that. That's awesome.
Thanks.
Dude, this has been incredible. You've made me into a pseudo Yankees fan. I'm a Yankees bullpen fan now.
That's all we need.
And I think what I've really learned is that if the Yankees come to DC or Baltimore, or even Kait when she goes to the Bronx, like we're going to be the nicest, most respectful person down there screaming stuff. We're going to be like, this guy Colin's a stand-up guy, and we're going to yell only the nicest things at you.
Yes. I appreciate that. Yeah, just compliments. Just rain them down. I love it.
Yes. Like this guy had insane pop when he was in the minors. You know that? But you didn't.
Oh, yeah. I would have been a great – I tell our front office guys that all the time. I'm like, why didn't you – I hit homers, I walked, I struck out, and I caught. Like, perfect. What else do you need?
Come on. What more could you possibly want?
Yeah. But it worked out. This is plan B. I'll take it. So, but yeah, thank you guys. You guys are great. The questions were awesome. And anytime you guys are in town, wherever we're at, let me know. We'll look forward to the compliments raining down in the bullpen.
Yes. I'll be the cool adult autograph ball sorter.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
Exactly.
I love it.